Here's a quick game. I'll describe two people. You tell me who's actually wealthier. Person 1 leases a car 2 years newer than they can really afford and just put a vacation on a credit card. Person 2 drives something with 140,000 miles on it and hasn't touched their wardrobe in 3 years. If your gut said person 1, you'd be wrong more often than you'd think. Actual wealth might be the best disguised thing in modern life. It rarely announces itself, and this is the part almost nobody mentions. The people quietly building it usually don't feel rich either. They're too deep in the unglamorous routine of it. Automating a transfer here, skipping a purchase there, staying the course through a bad month. None of that leaves much time to sit back and tally the score. So here are 8 quiet, easy-to-miss signals that you might already be on that path, whether or not your bank balance has caught up to the feeling yet. Stick around especially for sign 5. It tends to change how you see literally everyone around you. If you're new here, I'm Ivan. I've somehow made a hobby out of studying why 2 people on identical salaries can end up in completely different financial situations a decade later. If that question interests you as much as it interests me, the subscribe button's right there, and a thumbs up tells me exactly which ideas to dig into next. Nobody really prepares you for what building real money actually feels like day to day. There's no countdown, no milestone screen, no clean moment where it clicks. Mostly it's smaller and far less cinematic than that. You quietly let a purchase go. You skip a trip you can't really justify right now. You take the slightly harder option today because you already know your future self will thank you for it. None of it feels like progress in the moment. Weirdly, all of it is.
Watch for yourself in the next 8 signs. Even catching 1 or 2 matters more than it probably feels like right now. Sign 1. There's a growing gap between what you earn and what you spend, without much effort. This isn't about extreme budgeting or feeling deprived. Somewhere along the way, your spending stopped needing to say anything about you, and your actual cost of living settled comfortably under your income. Take 2 people on the same $82,000 salary. Grace spends around $58,000 of it. That leftover $24,000 is what lets her invest aggressively, build a cushion, and turn down things she doesn't actually want. Frank spends $87,000 of the identical salary. Every raise he's gotten seems to vanish within a month or 2, absorbed into a bigger deposit here, a gadget he didn't need there, a subscription he forgot he was paying for. He looks like he's doing better than Grace. His account tells a different story. That widening gap compounds hard over 10 or 20 years. It's really just freedom, dressed down. Want your own number? Track every dollar for the next 30 days and do the subtraction. Even a small gap, if it's growing, puts you somewhere most people never bother going. Sign 2. You've lost interest in shortcuts. Most people are hunting for the next fast win. A crypto pump, a side hustle about to take off, a bonus that'll supposedly fix everything. Somewhere your patience changed shape. You started measuring progress in years instead of weeks.
Grace parks $600 into a plain index fund every month and doesn't check the balance for months at a stretch. When the market drops 15% in a rough quarter, the contribution fires anyway, almost without her thinking about it. 20 years of that, roughly $144,000 put in total, has a realistic shot at growing past $300,000, purely from refusing to stop. Frank's tried his hand at day trading, an NFT flip or 2, and a dropshipping store that fizzled out within a year. He never sticks around anywhere long enough for compounding to do anything for him. 2 decades later, he's got about $40,000 saved, plus a highlight reel of near misses he still brings up at parties. Quiet wealth tends to be automatic and a little unglamorous. The same contribution firing on the same day every month, no matter what's trending in the news that week. If you're already thinking in decades, that alone puts you in genuinely rare company. Sign 3. You've built a cushion and it's never come up in conversation. You've stopped juggling due dates and watching your balance creep towards 0 before payday, but you're also not posting about it. While plenty of people perform their finances online, you've quietly built something far more useful: Slack. Grace keeps roughly $19,000 in a high-yield savings account she's hoping never to touch.
Her laptop dies, she orders a replacement that same afternoon without checking anything first. Her company announces layoffs, and she's alert, not panicked. Frank has around $400 total, combined, across every account he owns. A surprise bill becomes an actual emergency. His last car repair went straight onto a credit card he's now paying down at close to 24% interest. Most financial planners point to 3 to 6 months of expenses as a solid cushion. Get there or close to it, and you've done something a lot of people keep meaning to start. Next month.
Nobody plans around a cushion until they're forced to, usually mid-crisis, scrambling. You skipped that part entirely. Yours was already sitting there, waiting, long before anything went wrong. Sign 4. Your income climbed. Your actual life mostly didn't. Something counterintuitive happens once real wealth starts building. The raise, maybe even the promotion, shows up, and your day-to-day barely shifts. At 27, Grace made $58,000 and lived on about $42,000 of it. By 33, she's earning $79,000 and still living on roughly $46,000. Whatever that expanding gap has been year after year, it's gone straight into her portfolio. And by the time she's 40, it's turned into a real head start nobody handed her. Frank's income made the identical climb, $58,000 to $79,000. But somewhere along the way, his rent quietly crept from $1,250 to $1,950 a month, and a car payment showed up that wasn't strictly necessary. By 40, what he saved barely registers next to Grace's total, despite years of matching paychecks. Try this test on yourself next time a raise actually lands. Does your brain jump straight to an upgrade or to an extra transfer? Whichever one happens automatically without you even deciding tells you exactly which stage you're actually at. Quick pause here. Out of the 4 signs so far, be honest, how many have you already caught yourself doing? Hold on to that number. It's about to climb. Sign 5. Comparing yourself to other people has quietly stopped being automatic. When money's tight, comparison runs constantly in the background. You clock everyone's purchases, everyone's trips, and it quietly convinces you that everyone else has figured out something you haven't. Once real wealth is actually building, that noise fades. You stop tracking what other people spend, partly because you've noticed how much of it is financed, borrowed, or quietly costing someone their future security. Grace watches a friend roll up in a new $55,000 truck and genuinely just feels happy for the guy. No pull to match it. Her paid-off, decade-old car and her growing brokerage account are already doing exactly what she needs. Frank sees the same truck and feels the itch immediately. He finances a similar one at a rate he doesn't fully understand. 2 years later, he's underwater on the loan, dreading the payment every single month.
Once that comparison instinct fades, your decisions stop being reactions to somebody else's choices and start being just yours, which makes you noticeably harder to sell to. Ads, social pressure, that nagging fear of missing out feeling, none of it lands the way it used to. Sign 6. Money has quietly stopped being the main character in your head. When finances are tight, money runs non-stop in the background of your thoughts. Every purchase turns into a tiny negotiation with yourself. It's draining, even when nobody else can see it happening. Once real systems exist, automatic transfers, bills on autopay, a simple portfolio checked twice a year instead of twice a day, that noise mostly disappears. Grace's finances essentially run themselves now, which frees up her actual mental bandwidth for the questions that matter to her, not whether she can afford lunch, but what she actually wants the next few years of her life to look like. Frank still talks about money constantly, always chasing whatever deal or side hustle is next. But without any real system underneath it, everything demands his full attention, all the time. He's exhausted from managing money badly, not from managing it well. That shift, from money narrating every decision to money humming along mostly unnoticed, is one of the clearest signs something's actually changed. It's a strange trade. The more forgettable your money becomes day to day, the more room you actually have for a life worth having. Sign 7.
You've started guarding your time the way you used to guard your money. Most people spend their whole lives chasing dollars. The ones quietly winning eventually start chasing hours instead. When money's tight, you don't get a choice. Every hour gets traded for income, no negotiation. Once things stabilize, you realize money can buy something better. Time to think, time to actually rest, time to build whatever you care about.
Take Grace. She hires a cleaner twice a month, about $80 a visit. It was never really about the apartment being spotless. It's that she gets 4 extra hours back every couple of weeks, and she spends every one of them on something that actually matters to her. Dinner with friends, a hobby, an uninterrupted afternoon. She turns down meetings that don't serve her. Her calendar has real gaps in it, on purpose. Frank, meanwhile, refuses to pay for help anywhere in his life. Not the cleaning, not grocery delivery, nothing. It's not really about the money at that point. His weekends quietly disappear into a list of chores he never quite finishes, and somehow he still ends up more tired than Grace. Money sitting in an account is just a number until you actually spend some of it buying your hours back. That's the real upgrade. Not the balance itself, but what the balance quietly gives you permission to skip. Sign 8. You've quietly stopped explaining yourself and started just deciding. Something fundamental shifts in how you talk about money once you're actually building it. You stop pointing at your income, your upbringing, or the economy, and start focusing on whatever's actually within your control. I can't afford that quietly turns into, that's not where my money's going right now. Sounds like a small phrase swap. It isn't. Grace makes $68,000 in an expensive city. Instead of complaining about rent, she works whatever levers are actually hers to pull. Splits a place with a roommate, skips car ownership in favor of public transit, batch cooks on Sundays so weekday lunches are already handled. If anyone asks why she's still in the same apartment, she doesn't get cagey about it. She just says the quiet part out loud. The portfolio's the priority this year. Everything else can wait its turn.
Frank earns the identical $68,000, and most of his energy goes into building the case for why saving has to wait. The market's brutal right now. He's still paying off a degree that hasn't paid off yet. And honestly, after the week he's had, he's not about to feel guilty over a Friday takeout order. He's not making any of that up. He's just choosing to let it be the ending of the story instead of the beginning of a plan. 5 years later, Grace has roughly $95,000 invested. Frank has about $6,000, and a very reasonable explanation for every dollar of the difference. Owning your situation instead of narrating it hands you back control you didn't realize you'd given away. 2 or 3 of these probably landed a little differently than the rest, like you'd caught yourself doing that exact thing without ever putting a name to it before. That's usually the tell. What you're building doesn't show up on a highlight reel, and that's sort of the point. It's not the kind of thing a bad quarter or a rough year can just erase. Here's the last thing worth remembering. The feeling of being rich almost always shows up late, sometimes years after the numbers already prove it's true. So don't wait around for some moment that announces itself. If you're doing the quiet work, it's already compounding, whether it feels like anything yet or not. If any of this was useful, subscribing helps more than you'd think. I'll see you in the next one.